All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Emily Hoffmiller. I'm an assistant director in the financial aid office here at St. Thomas. So Bill and I from the business office are going to give you a little presentation, tell you what to expect when you're needing to pay for your schooling at St. Thomas. All right, so I know if you were just in the previous presentation, they talked about FERPA a little bit. So this is also a really important thing for financial aid and the business office. We're not able to share information about the student unless they give you proxy access. So the student needs to go on to their Murphy Online, and they should do this at any point now. We can talk to you about the student's account up until the day they start classes here. So this is important to get done kind of right away in case you have questions. So if you give us a call, we'll have to check that your student has given you access to their information. It's all available on Murphy Online. I would just take a picture of this website if you wanted, or you can always send us an email. It's pretty easy to set up. You'll get a passphrase, so just make sure that you write that down or remember it, and we'll ask you for that information just to verify that you are the parent that we're talking to. Or as the previous person said, if you call us and the student is with you, then we can talk to the student and you can kind of just be in the call getting the information. So this is definitely very important. So all the information I'm going to give you now is relevant, but once the student starts classes, I'll need this information to give you any more information about them. All right, so most important for financial aid, I would say, is filling out the FAFSA. A lot of you have probably already filled it out, but if you haven't, it's not too late. So I would go in there probably this weekend if you can, if you want to get your financial aid sooner. I would fill this out. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. So it's just an application that you're submitting to become eligible for any need-based financial aid, which we'll talk about in a second. But this is a yearly form that you'll want to fill out. It comes out in October every year. I recommend waiting until maybe October 2nd or 3rd because it always crashes on the first day. So don't worry about going in there October 1st to fill it out. As long as you fill it out sometime between October and January, you'll be kind of in that first group of students. So I would say that should be your time frame, but you can fill it out at any point. If you think you might not be eligible for anything, I still highly recommend that you fill out the FAFSA, at least for that first year that your student is coming to school, so you can really be sure that you're kind of flipping over every rock that you can. Even if you have really high assets or high income, the student will be eligible for some federal unsubsidized loans. These are loans that they can get just in their name that don't require a cosigner. So you can get that no matter what your income level is, so that can always be kind of a benefit. If you don't plan on taking out loans, if you filled out the FAFSA and you don't qualify for anything, you don't have to fill it out each year. Your St. Thomas Merit Scholarship doesn't require the FAFSA, so you don't have to, but I recommend you do. I think everyone in financial aid would recommend that you do. So if you filled out the FAFSA, it's going to ask for your 2020 income for next year. The following year, it'll ask for 2021 income. And as we know, a lot of things can change year to year. So if your income has changed, if there's been a change in your household, so a divorce or a death, if there's been large medical expenses, also if you have younger siblings that are in private K through 12 education, we can look at kind of taking off the tuition prices for that. So if there's been a change from your income from 2020 and the FAFSA isn't really reflecting it right, you'll want to fill out a special circumstance. So you'll do this just by contacting our office. We have the forms available on our website, but if you just contact us, we'll send them to you. They'll be easier for you to find. So we might ask for some information. We might ask for your most recent pay stubs to verify your income, things like that. But if your income has changed drastically, or maybe even if it's changed a little but you're not sure, reach out to us and we can always run a simulation of numbers to see if it's worthwhile to turn in all the documentation. So some other financing options that we have, so like I said, the student was eligible for federal unsubsidized loans, or they might get subsidized loans. Then the student has their merit scholarship, but how do you cover kind of that leftover balance? So one of your options could be the Federal Parent Plus loan. So this is a loan that's available to parents of undergraduate students. It has a really easy application to fill out. It's through the federal government. You can see the interest rate up there, 7.54% for next year. That interest rate is set for everyone that applies and gets approved, so sometimes that can be a good interest rate for your credit. Sometimes you might be able to find better elsewhere with a private loan. It does have a fairly high origination fee. You can see it's 4.236%. So just make sure if you apply for this, if you ask for a specific amount, that you're accounting for that because it'll get taken off the top. So just make sure that you're kind of asking for a little bit more to cover that fee. We can always do that math for you if you are looking for a specific amount. Just reach out to the financial aid office. There is also the option when you fill out the Parent Plus loan to ask for the maximum amount possible. If you ask for this, you'll usually end up with more than you need for your bill. You'll end up with extra costs for like books or gas to get to campus, so you might end up with a little bit extra, which is good if you need it, but if you don't need it, I would contact our office to adjust your loan so that it's just covering the student's tuition and room and board if you don't need those extra expenses for books or travel or things like that. If you fill this out, you will get an email from our office, so just keep an eye out for that about kind of finalizing those numbers for you. The biggest other thing to remember about this is that it is just in the parent's name. So I would really consider your relationship with the student. Obviously, it's for their education. It's benefiting them. So hopefully they'll be nice enough to pay it back. But I will just warn you, legally they don't have to. So just make sure you keep a good relationship with them. I'm sure they're going to need you more anyways in their life. Otherwise, there's private educational loans, so these interest rates can vary. Like I said, the Parent Plus was at 7.54, so sometimes that's good for people. Sometimes you might be able to get better elsewhere. So those are kind of the big things that I would look at when you're comparing doing a private loan or the Parent Plus is that interest rate. And then as well as the student relationship. So the private loans can be primarily in the student's name, but they're still going to need a cosigner on there. So the parent's name will still be on it, but so will the students. So you kind of both have some skin in the game. There are some different options on our website right there. We have a list of different lenders that our students have used. Our loan processor has already vetted them, so instead of just Googling student loans, which is really scary, don't do that, I would just go to our website and look up our approved lender list. They're ones that we've worked with in the past that we already have pretty quick connections with. As far as processing time, private loans do take a little bit longer, so I would start your research a little bit earlier. I usually recommend that the Parent Plus takes about 2 weeks and the private can take 3 to 4. So that's a little bit of a long estimate, but I like to give our loan people a little bit of time. So that's how long I would say. The private loans just can have a little bit more back and forth related with them. And as far as both of these loans, you can apply for the full year or you can apply per semester. We usually recommend applying just for the full year, so the fall and the spring semester. Your bill should be roughly the same each semester. Keep an eye on it to see if there's any changes with the course fees, but sometimes it's easier to just apply for the full year because otherwise you're applying for a loan at Christmas and no one likes that. We also have student employment on campus, so to cover kind of those extra costs I had talked about, books or gas to get to campus, student employment can be a good option to kind of reduce how much debt you're taking on. So on campus, we have a lot of different jobs, a lot of different positions. We like to say that if your student wants to work, they can definitely get a job on campus. We have federal work study, which is when a student is awarded work study and they kind of have more option to jobs, but even the regular student employment, we have a lot of different job options available. I would start looking for these jobs probably late August, early September. Your student could also kind of wait until they get on campus and get settled and then look for a position. Like I said, there's always different jobs available. The payment can either go directly into the student's bill, they can go directly on there, or it can go to them to help pay for those other costs. Maybe they save it up for future books or something like that. But there's a lot of good jobs on campus. Our office is hiring, so if anyone needs a job in financial aid, your student will get great information. So I definitely recommend taking a look at this. And then we'll pass it on to Bill in student billing.
Good morning. Everyone hear me okay? Great. My name is Bill Peterson. I'm with the business office. I'm just going to briefly go over how we do the billing here at St. Thomas, talk a little bit about our payment plan, how we communicate the bill, a little bit about authorized users, and just a few odds and ends. First and foremost, as you can see here, How we communicate the bill, it's done electronically. It's sent to the UST email address right around the 25th of each month, with the following month, the due date being the 19th. Now, we do understand that parents generally take a high responsibility and help finance costs for tuition. Now, if that's the case, you'll want your son or daughter to set you as an authorized user on the billing site. Now, I know we talked briefly about Proxy. Now, Proxy is more view-only information through our St. Thomas site for the entire university, and whether that may be viewing their transcripts or financial aid information, billing, registration, etc. So that's view-only information. Now, the access to the billing site, they'll need to be set as an authorized user on the e-bill and e-pay system. So make sure they do that. And how they're going to do that, they're going to log in to Murphy Online up there. I'm going to highlight first. So right now, if you want to just go online, navigate the site a little bit, I would select Murphy Online in the little purple up there next to the orange. They click there. Now, Murphy Online is their student portal. They go on there to do several different things. They'll be very familiar with that. They'll be on there today registering for classes. They can navigate their financial aid information, etc., through Murphy. So they'll be very familiar with that. But when they go through Murphy, especially right now, there's an option to click on e-bill and e-pay system. Going through this route, they may need to disable their pop-up blocker, so just maybe highlight that. But as we get closer to fall semester and we've posted the charges billed for it, I would actually suggest that the students go through, it's One St. Thomas, you'll find this screen like this, but on the left-hand side of the screen under My Actions, it says Tuition and Tuition Balance. If they click there, it should take them right to the billing site, and we generally don't have issues with the pop-up blocker. When that happens with a pop-up blocker, it just spins around and takes them right back to the same screen they started with. So when that happens, that means they have to disable that. And there's just so many different browsers out there that people use, it's hard to know exactly how to disable that. But like I said, going under Tuition, under My Actions, when we've actually posted the charges, will be a little bit more simpler for them. So when they log in, the screen looks very much like this. On the right-hand side of the screen, you see Authorized User. They're just going to add an email address and click Submit. It's a really simple process. They can set up one authorized user or multiple ones, parent, grandparent, whoever it may be. Now, you'll know once you're set as an authorized user because you'll receive an email just stating you're now set as an authorized user. There will be a temporary password sent along with that. And so then you would be able to log in and view the bill or make payments. Then going forward each month, you would get the e-bill notifications just like your son or daughter does when those are generated right around the 25th. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, Proxy is more just view only through St. Thomas site for several different things, and then authorized users the billing site. Quick question?
Yeah, if you have another student here and you already have an account, do they just get added on, or do you have two separate?
Two separate accounts,
Okay.
yeah, because we may have one student set you as an authorized user and the other not. So yeah, you'll have to log in.
Make a separate password.
Correct, yeah. Sorry about that, but that's a good question. So as you can see, it's a pretty simple process for them to do that. Now, students are automatically enrolled into a semester-long payment plan. As you can see here, for fall semester, it's September through December. Spring is February through May. Due dates are always the 19th of each month. Now, do families need to follow this verbatim? Not necessarily. Now, if you have the ability to pay the balance in full and you just want to be done with it, maybe you have a 529 plan, maybe you've already set up loans for the year, and you have the ability to pay it in full by the first due date. By all means, that's totally fine. But we do have some families that like to utilize this and spread it out over the course of the semester. What I just want to highlight, though, is if you choose to do so and go that route, there's a finance charge assessed monthly of 1.1%. Now, this is not a late charge. It's actually just the cost for extending the credit as we're allowing you to pay it over a 4-month time frame. So when the payment is due, you'll see an account balance and a statement balance. A statement balance is just what would be due for that first month. And if you just make that payment, then there would be a finance charge assessed after that when the new bill is generated off of that remaining balance. So just keep that in mind. Another thing I just wanted to highlight up there, it says create a payment profile 5 to 7 days before the payment. Now, new banking regulations have been input on higher education in which any electronic check payment with a routing number and account number needs to be verified first. So when you go online, you'll want to save a payment profile, and it can take, you know, it may say 5 days, it might be a little sooner than that, but when you save the profile, it's just going to show pending, and then, you know, approximately up to 5 days. Once it shows verified, then you're able to do that. It may be a good idea ahead of time to go in there and save a payment profile, maybe for your son or daughter, and also for you as an authorized user, so you have a couple in there. So when they're saved and they're all ready to go, you can just go and make a payment. Otherwise, credit cards are offered online, all major credit cards. However, there is a 2.85% convenience fee on that. I guess I wouldn't say convenient. But it goes through PayPath, and they're the servicer that provides that. So that's their fee for providing that service, that is. So just keep that in mind. So when you log in, actually in that first site where you saw authorized users, up towards the top you would see My Account. Under there you'll see eStatement. You can click on that, and the statement looks very much like this. So if you ever needed to print it out, maybe send it to a 529 provider, or if you just want to view that. It's going to look very much like this. Current charges, tuition fees, room and board. And right below that in the middle, you see current payments. So their UST scholarship or grants for anything along those lines should already show applied to their account when that bill is generated. Now, what you're not going to see, though, is maybe their federal subsidized or unsubsidized loan that may be qualified for under the FAFSA. Or if you have a Parent Plus loan or a private loan. Those should show pending financial aid. Part of the reasons we wait on that is the students' first 10 days of class are their add drop period. So a lot of times students are adjusting their class schedule during that time frame, so we'd like to wait until they're locked in. But it's always applied by that due date of September 19th. It's generally, I would say, within the first 2 weeks of September, or in spring it would be the first two weeks of February that you should see that on there. Now, if you don't see it as pending, don't be alarmed. You just may want to reach out to financial aid to see what maybe additional requirements need to be done to make sure they're all set. An example is, so when students are awarded the subsidized or unsubsidized loan as a part of the FAFSA, it's offered to them. They have to actually go online through Murphy and accept the award. Any of their other aid, their scholarships or grants, those are already accepted for them. But the loans, they actually have to go in and accept them because some families may not want to utilize that. So they have to accept the loans. And then the first time around, or first-time borrowers, they have to go online and complete entrance loan counseling and sign a master promissory note. It's just the one time they have to do that. But if you were to see that it's not pending on there, there could be additional requirements that need to be completed. Now, once they've done that, it's a pretty quick process to disbursement. It could be maybe 1 to 2 days in which the loans would be dispersed. So it's pretty quick there.
Quick question, for local scholarships that people are sending to the college, will that appear online, or?
Both scholarships that are sending to?
Like, yeah, like if they want local scholarships within the community, they're being sent to the college?
Yeah, they generally would be sent to the college. Sometimes they're sent to the parent or student, and then they could drop them off. Yeah, if they're outside scholarships?
Outside scholarships.
Yes, it would show eventually pending on there. It may not be on that first bill because it depends on when that comes in. Hold on with the questions for a second here. I just have 1 or 2 more slides, and then I can answer some questions for you. I just want to make sure we stay on time here. Now, anytime there is a credit balance on an account, which we may owe money back to you or the student for that matter, we suggest the student set up an e-refund profile. How this could happen is maybe you were paid the entire balance for the semester and didn't factor in the loans that were pending, and those dispersed after that, and that would have created a credit balance. So we owe that money back to you. The quickest, most efficient way is setting up an e-refund profile. We electronically deposit it into a checking or savings account. Now the students only have that ability to set that up through their Murphy portal in the billing site. The authorized users don't have that through their area. Now just work together on which account you'd like that to go back to. Now in some cases, if a Parent Plus loan generates a refund, then a paper check is cut to the borrower of those loans. Now we still do paper checks, but we only do once a week on Wednesdays, and by the time they're being mailed out, it's Friday morning or so. Where e-refunds we do 3 times a week, so it's a quicker process. We can also hold it on to the next semester if you'd like. There's a Keep Credit Authorization form available in our business office website, just designating us to hold that on file for the next semester. Just keep in mind at the end of May, early June, we process all refunds or credit balances because that's our fiscal year end. So we usually issue all refunds at that point regardless. So we don't usually hold it on for the next academic year, just during that academic year that we're working fall and spring. If a payment is missed on September 19th and you just happen to miss that and the new bill is generated a few days after that, it may put the account in a past due status. If that happens, it may put a hold on their registration or viewing or accessing their transcripts. If it's a matter of just missing the payment, making a payment online is pretty quick. Our system updates nightly, removes any holds. Obviously, if there is any issues, if you have questions or you run into maybe a short financial loss, whatever it may be, medical bill, something along those lines, reach out to us and let us know. We can try to cater the payment plan a little bit for you. Financial aid might be able to look and see if there's any additional funding to kind of help you through that short-term issue. Like she mentioned, we bill on a per-term basis, so we don't really have a lot of time to just spread that out. They would start registering for spring come November. We usually like the fall charges paid up before spring starts in February, so just keep that in mind. And then one of the last things I want to talk about is St. Thomas offers a private tuition insurance plan, and it's been administered through GradGuard. Now this is an event of any medical withdrawal only in which a student would have to withdraw from the entire term, whether that's an illness of some sort, an injury, mental health conditions, even COVID-related issues are included under that. You'd work directly with GradGuard, and you would receive 100% reimbursement of tuition and required fees. So this is a nice umbrella to have, you know, completely optional for you, but a very nice thing to have here. Now, like I said, students have that first 2 week to add and drop classes, but after that time frame, it will slowly go down for maybe 80%, 60%, so forth. So if you're 3 months in the semester and something were to happen that you just don't account for, and had to withdraw from the semester, could be responsible for the remaining charges on there still, even if they had to withdraw. But if you have this insurance, it's at least a good umbrella to help recover those costs. With that, that's all I had here. I know there was a few questions out there that you guys could have. Ma'am? Yes, any of the merit scholarships that students have, those would be deducted off. You should see that on that first statement, those coming off, correct. Yes, you know, thank you for that. That's a very good question. In regards to that insurance, you have through that first 10 days of class, their add drop period, to apply for that insurance. Now, and that should pop up on the billing site. So, you know, when you log in to view that, as we get closer to the term, that should pop up and you could designate, oh yes, I'm interested. And then GradGuard, I think, would reach out to you and, you know, go from there. So you work directly with them in setting that all up. But yes, you have through that first the add drop period to set that up. Ma'am?
How does it work when you've been given like an athletic scholarship and it's like 75% coverage? How does that work?
Do you want to athletic?
Yeah, so for that, I would either contact your financial aid counselor, which is Jeff, or it should show on the bill eventually. But if you kind of want to estimate those amounts, I would just reach out to Jeff directly.
Yeah,
Yep,
it's Jeff
Jeff
Schmidt.
Schmidt.
His name. Ma'am, in the back.
Yeah, so he would want to bring them to our financial aid office. We're open 9 to 3:30, Monday through Friday. So he can drop them off whenever. If you have them with you today, we can take them. He will need to sign the back of it if it's written out to both of them. But yeah, make sure that his name's on it somewhere. His ID number, if you have that information, is helpful too. If you didn't bring them with you, you can bring them when you move on campus. It will take a little bit to process them, so if you want them on the bill right away, the sooner the better. But yeah, just bring those to our office, 9 to 3:30. And I do have some business cards if you have a more private, sensitive financial aid matter, if you wanted to reach out to me after.
Any other further questions? Well, oh, I'm sorry, ma'am.
Is it possible to have 2 logins for 2 different parents?
Yes, you can have 2 different logins for 2 different parents because it's by email address. So when they're doing the authorized user, so it would. If you had the same email, then it would generally be the same. But that's a good question. Any other questions? Well, I know our offices will be up at the fair here, so if you had additional questions. Otherwise, we'll be available here for a few minutes if you had any other questions you had for us. Thank you.